All right, everyone. It is Thursday. It is the Trust Insights weekly live, almost an annual weekly live stream. So what? The Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. Katie is off today, defending Gotham and fighting crime in this in the streets of New York City, as Batwoman. So it's just John and I today.
That is so funny. Yeah, and the what was it, Shrek department store, because she sent pictures of the tree down there. So yeah, she's right up against the Penguin.
Exactly. Today, we're going to be talking about generative AI in sales, using generative AI for the purposes of sales. So, John, you do a lot of selling of things, marketing over coffee, sponsorships, trust insights, speaking deals, courses, and consulting services, and who knows what else you're selling on a regular and frequent basis. So, when you think about the use of generative AI and what it can do, what are the use cases in sales that come to mind for you right away?
Yeah, the big thing is, I've followed along. You've come up with the 6 cases for generative AI. I'm sure we're going to delve into that, but that's really been my number one approach to this, is that you can use these AI tools to basically hone your pitch, do a lot of the, first drafts that are always the most painful to do, and then being able to summarize and boil down information is also huge. If you're lucky enough to have, whether it's customer feedback or, some kind of surveys that you can go through, AI is just massive leverage as far as being able to get more done with the same amount of stuff. So yeah, I think, and like you've talked about too, it's just, I love the idea of an army of robots helping out and making kind of the ugly work easier and faster.
Speaking of ugly work, do you find yourself ever wanting to do more in-depth analysis of sales itself, like sales operations, looking at the deal records and saying, well, what's winning, what's not winning?
No, we're not to that point, and this is something we see all the time in B2B, is that there's just not enough volume. It's like, probably this year I had like 15 conversations that were for real huge money, and you can dig into each of those deals and figure out what's why they went the way they did or whatever. It's not like a great example is the stuff that you've done as far as call center data. Like, we have clients that have 15,000 calls a month, and being able to throw that into a model and churn it out and say, okay, these are the top 5 things you need to fix in your sales or customer service process. Like, that's just amazing. Yeah, unfortunately, we are, we're still fighting the fight person to person. We don't have enough piles of data to be able to churn through stuff. And I am also here to learn too. You've been on the cutting edge of doing a bunch of this stuff, so I'm sure you have some ideas on how we could, even on a small, scope, use this. So I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah. Well, so unsurprisingly, the place we're going to start is with the Trust Insights 5P framework, which is purpose, people, process, platform, performance. And whatever task you're thinking of in sales, you have to start here to figure out what is the purpose of that task and what would be the purpose of using AI for that task. Who are the people that need to be involved, both from a doing the thing as well as approvals, etc. What's the process for that task right now? Is how well broken out is it? How well documented is it? What's the platform that you're going to use? And is integration an issue? So a lot of shops use Salesforce or HubSpot. If you want it to be more than an ad hoc one-off, you might have to say, well, we need to figure out the requirements for making it work with our platform, or in cases like Salesforce and HubSpot, using the native AI tools built in. And then at the end of the day, the performance, which is, if we implement this task partially or fully with AI, how do we measure success? What happens? Do we measure on time? Like, the task is done that much faster? Do we measure on revenue? This task that maybe wasn't getting done now is getting done, and we can attribute X amount of dollars in revenue to it. So that's sort of the 5 Ps. Now, to get to the purpose, the first place that we would start with purpose building is the user story. This is something that you've heard a whole bunch of times. It is, as a whatever you are, I need to, so that, and you have the outcome. So think about some of the things that you mentioned, John. For example, fixing sales copywriting. What would be the user story for justifying or piloting the use of AI for that particular task? How would you state that as a user story?
Yeah, the classic one with that would be, as a sales or marketing exec, I need to create multiple iterations of the same offer so that I have, 30 different versions to run on Google ads and Facebook ads, because you kind of have a rough idea of what your pitch is. But once you start testing it on a paid network, you're going to want to have a bunch of variations. And yeah, throwing that into a large language model and have it do all that copywriting to give you 30 different takes of basically the same pitch, that's a huge time saver.
So is the outcome that you're just not doing it right now, or is the outcome that you're doing it right now and you're saving time by having machines do it?
Yeah, I mean, right now, not doing it, it's just too much of a heavy lift. I mean, a lot of shops right now would have a person doing that as their full-time job.
Got it. Okay. So I think that's a good place to start then. So as a sales professional, I need to generate, several dozen different sales pitches from the same starting point using generative AI so that I save time and can adapt pitches to the audience. Does that sound like it makes sense?
Yeah,
All right.
and maybe something along those of, I can find the 3 most effective versions.
Got it. Okay, so there's a performance measure there, and that's really important because having that be part of the 5 Ps. If you're trying to find the best performing pitch, that's an important consideration. That really is so that I can find the best performing top pitches for this thing. So for anything, but especially for sales, I mean, sales has relatively, I would say, standardized outcomes, right? You sold something, you made some money, or you didn't. There's not a lot of wiggle room there.
No, true.
So let's get started then with that process of how we would do that. So the first thing we need to think of is, do we have sales pitches? So is there a sales pitch that you want to start with?
I think a great one would be the generative AI. We have what we posted in social last week for the generative AI course. And that would be a great place to start because that's where we would, generate the ads from that.
Got it. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to go dig around here in my advertising and marketing. Generative AI course promotion. Does that sound like the right one, right? So that would be this one here. Okay.
Yes, there you go. Takeaways. Yeah, that's the good stuff.
All right. So the first thing we want to do then is would want to have some kind. Let's go ahead and close this out here. We want to have some kind of starting point. So what is when you talk about the 30 different variations and things and finding the best pitch, what do you think is the blocking obstacle right now in this pitch, other than the fact that you just don't have enough people, that makes a pitch less successful?
It's more that it's a mystery box of basically this whole pitch here has to get boiled down to meet the size requirements. You have I have to pull it up, but it's like X number of characters first line, and then you get a second 3 lines of copy, and then just 1 click to action. So we have to boil this down into smaller bits. And so then we're stuck with the challenge of okay, so there's 7 takeaways there or whatever. We can maybe fit in 1 or 2. Which ones do we go with? And so that's...
Oh, God. So you're writing social ads or Google ads for this is what you want.
Yeah. Going into channels. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So let's fire up our standard generative AI interface. We're going to use Chat GPT for this. We'll switch over to the GPT-4 model. However, you can use any of the language models that are available. Google just announced that Gemini is now part of Bard. So if you supposedly has the best performance for a non-paid chatbot, that remains to be seen. And maybe we'll do a bake-off towards the beginning of the year to see how that's going. So let's start real simple. The framework that we want to use for this sort of thing is what we call the RACE framework: role, action, context, execution. So having that information will make this work better. So let's do our role. So what platform are we using? Google Ads, or what do you want to start with?
Yeah, let's start with Google. Sure.
A Google Ads certified professional. Google Ads, Google Ads Performance Max, CPC campaigns, CPA campaigns, display advertising, pay-per-click, search engine marketing, SEM, search ads. Your first task will be to summarize and condense the following sales pitch into a Google Ads compatible format. Okay, what are the Google Ads formats these days? Because it's been a hot minute since I've run one.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Actually, I can pull up and add words and see what's going on here.
Okay, it's responsive search ads, they are now called. So we have responsive search ads, benefits, how it works, create a responsive ad. Okay, we have headlines. What are the space requirements of responsive search ads for Google Ads? Let's see. I think it's still what, 35 characters for the headline and 90 for the.
That's what I remember. Yeah. I'm not
Okay.
can't guarantee that, but it's a good place to start.
The requirements for the ad template are headline, 35 characters maximum. Responsive ad copy, 90 characters maximum. Display URL, destination URL, 255 characters maximum. The goal is to generate different variations of the ads based on the copy. Okay, who's our target audience? Who do we want to have buy this thing?
Yeah, target audience would be marketing professionals, and hopefully marketing professionals that are, I don't know. I kind of have to think more about that. Marketing professionals looking for how to use generative AI as part of their tactics. And have a budget for training.
Right. They have a training budget and they have the authority to make purchases. Any demographics or information about these people?
I mean, you could say marketing professionals between the ages of 21 and 45.
Well, what about instead of calendar age? What if we say people who've been in the marketing profession for what? How many years? 3 years? 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, it could be even 1 or more year. I think.
Okay.
Just because this is definitely stuff that gets farmed down to rookies in a lot of places.
Okay. Yeah, that way we're not being ageist. We're just saying, okay, you probably are not a first day on the job.
Right. And you're not a CMO.
Right. Okay, so that's our target buyer. Let's see. Google Ads responsive search ads examples. Let's see if we can just find a couple of basic responsive search ad templates here we can borrow. You'd think it'd be easy to actually find. Okay, here we are. So let's see. Yep. So we have headlines, descriptions. Yeah, I don't have a sample. All right. Let's do. Here is the ad copy. Let's go ahead to our sales pitch copy here. Before we begin, what questions do you have? That, by the way, is probably one of the most important things people just do not do is ask the machinery, what else do you need to know to do this task well? So let's see. You mentioned targeting marketing professionals with 1 to 2 years of experience. Are there any specific industries or company sizes? Is the target audience broad within the field of marketing? I think that is a very good question. I think the answer to that could be things like, maybe companies with $50 million in revenue and up, right?
Yeah, that's a good, the odds of that having budget are a lot higher. That sounds good.
They work at companies with an annual revenue of 2 million or more. All right. We have primary offer focus. So sales pitch offers both workshops and a course. What should we focus on?
Yeah, focus on the course, definitely.
Okay. The sole focus of the ads should be directing people to the course. The course URL to use is AI course. Let's see. What are the most critical points to emphasize? I would say the last two, right? The hands-on workshop. What do you think is more important, hands-on workshop or comprehensive nature?
Hands-on is probably number one.
The main value proposition and focus should be on the hands-on nature of the course as a differentiator. Okay. We also have branding elements. Should the trust brand? Not necessarily. How many ad variations? Let's see.
Dude, 20.
Yeah. We want to generate at least 20 different distinct ads. Let's see. A/B testing considerations, not right now. Display URLs, destination URL, that's all set there. So you focus on the basic ad structure. Okay. So we've got now the enhanced requirements. Generate 20 different ads based on the requirements. And
going to dump them into an Excel spreadsheet too.
Let's see if it can do it first at all.
Right.
Because things like character counts, language models have a really hard time counting because they're not good at math. So
look at this is dead on. Oh, this is a thing of beauty. Oh, isn't that funny? It's changing the display URLs though. That would be one thing you'd want to say, right? You'd say display URL must always be.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, the display doesn't have to be, but the destination needs to always be the same.
Yes.
Which
now that said, I don't know if I would have different display URLs. Although I guess it's an interesting tactic to think about.
Yeah, right. That's one of those things you can run afoul with that, right? Though, I mean, we don't really know how that gets enforced, but it is an interesting. It's definitely worth testing. I would test it in one iteration to see what it does.
Yep. Okay, so clearly it can do this, right? So now one of the things you were asking about is, can we get it to? You want it in a spreadsheet format, right?
Yeah, that makes life easier as far as when it comes time to uploading it into the thing.
Generate it as a pipe delimited table in markdown format with the following columns. Column 1, headline. Column 2, description. Column 3, display URL. Column 4, destination URL. And we've decided that we didn't particularly like the wild things. So let's use this for both the display URL and the destination URL. Okay, so we're going to give it a formatting instruction. So remember, in the race structure, role, action, context, execute. This is all execution here now. So we're giving it very clear details. Let's see, just for fun, after you generate the table in Markdown format. Make the table available as a CSV file and provide a download link. Let's see if we can. Let's shoot for the moon here, and let's for time's sake here, let's just switch this down to 5.
Yeah, right.
Because let's see, generate 5 different ads. All right, let's see what happens here. So it's actually going to build it in Python so that it can make it the CSV export. That's interesting. So it knows that it can't natively generate a CSV file. It has to use its Python laboratory to do that.
Right. And then, but then will it kick that automatically too, or do you have to grab the Python and just export it?
Let's see. There's the result.
Yeah.
I've created it. Yep, there it goes. The CSV file it says it's downloaded.
It's loaded.
And let's go and open it up in Excel here. And there it is.
That's the run. Wow. And now that's totally, you also like blew my mind with another thing though, this idea that you can just have it start running Python for you. That seems like an interesting avenue.
Oh yeah. I mean, the model is very capable of all that sort of thing. So now you've got your ad spreadsheet pretty much ready to go. Now you could have it generate more and more and more of these things and stuff like that. That's one example. And I think it's a very useful example of using these tools for sales, for at least for demand generation. The second thing that you're talking about is using it for managing copy itself. So one of the things you can do to make that work really well is do what's called a custom GPT. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, where you're going to build a customized version of Chat GPT that focuses on a very specific set of tasks. One that I've built in the past is called a sales email copywriter. So I took a whole bunch of different examples of good copywriting and a whole bunch of guidelines about how to do good copywriting and put it into this sales GPT. So let's look at the back end here so we can see what's in there. So this thing helps tune up sales emails with conversion writing best practices. You're a world-class copywriting pro in the same league as copywriters like Ann Handley, Joanna Weaver, and Andy Crestodina. You know all these things. Here's a whole bunch of documents. Your job is to produce good sales copy. So let's get this custom GPT rolling. We want to take that same pitch and probably work with it some, right?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that slants it, where it goes.
First, let's establish who our audience is for doing some sales copywriting. After all, it makes sense to know the audience first, right? So we'll start a little conversation here and see what the machinery comes up with. I'm going to provide you with 3 LinkedIn profiles of people who are our target audience. Give these profiles a read and come up with a single summary of who our audience is, what is important to them, and okay, you can stop that. You're just making things up. What is important to them and what things might appeal to them. All right, so let's go ahead to our documents here, our 3 LinkedIn profiles. So this is you, me, and Katie. Obviously, this would not be the exact ones, but these are the profiles that we clearly have permission to use. Let's see what we come up with. So what it's doing is a process called retrieval augmented generation, where it knows the tool knows that we've given it data, and to use that data as the reference point, because a lot of what it started pulling out here was just making things up. We didn't actually give it any information, so it was essentially hallucinating. Now we've given it 3 different PDFs, and I should point out that these PDFs contain a lot of information. So let me open up mine here while it's doing its thing. So this is, from my LinkedIn profile. It contains the big summary about me, my experiences, my interests, and stuff like that. It's got, this profile goes on for 21 pages, so there's quite a lot of information in there. But that's enough information, enough words, that it should be able to come up with something. Let's look at yours. So this is your profile. Yours is a 2-page profile. But there's still a decent amount of stuff like your job titles and stuff like that in there as well. All right, so we have, after reviewing the LinkedIn profiles, the target audience for your sales copywriting can be summarized as follows: professional background and expertise, significant positions in their respective fields of marketing and technology, interest and goals, interest in innovative marketing strategies, leveraging technologies, things like that. Appeals and motivations: focus on driving measurable results, increased revenue, market growth, or improved operational efficiency. Language should be professional, concise, and jargon appropriate for marketing tech-savvy individuals. So that's essentially a much more behavioral buyer's profile than saying, people who are in the workforce 5 years at companies 50 million and up. The big takeaway for folks watching this is you want to do this exercise with your ideal customer profiles. Whoever your best buyers are, or your aspirational buyers, the people you want to have buy your stuff, this is the exercise to do, because now we have this thing. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to say, great. Now I'm going to provide you a sales pitch. Evaluate the sales pitch against this buyer profile you've just generated from LinkedIn profiles. Analyze the sales pitch and make recommendations in bullet point format for ways in 2 categories. 2 categories. 1, in what ways does the sales pitch resonate with the buyer profile? 2, in what ways could the sales pitch be improved to resonate better with the buyer profile? So let's go ahead and provide it now. I'll go back to my text document here and grab our sales pitch from earlier. Same exact pitch, so nothing new and different here. And let's see what it comes up with. We maybe should move our live stream to not middle of the day, because ChatGPT is the busiest at this time of day.
Really?
Yeah. If you Google for people searching for ChatGPT login, basically it follows the workday. As soon as the workday starts, people start hammering, and it follows the workday from like Western Europe all the way pretty much to Asia. So there's like 8 hours of the day when people are like not hammering on this poor thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, right? There's like 16 hours basically nonstop.
Exactly, just as people are working on it. Yeah, it is very unhappy right now. But what this spits out then, what should spit out is those 2 lists of recommendations, which is here's what you did well, and here's the places where you could have done better in your sales pitch. And then from there, if you wanted to, you could say, well, okay, well, help me rewrite the sales pitch to fix the problems that you've located.
It's like maximum drama here.
A fun side note, you can actually tell how heavily loaded OpenAI servers are based on the speed of response, like how quickly it's generating tokens. Like right now, it is slammed. When I was working early this morning around 6:30 a.m. Eastern time, it was just boom, just throwing stuff out. This is
Zipping.
like
Yeah, like
I'm
you said,
trying.
so with that wide of a time zone, like this is pretty much peak. Oh wow! Suddenly, some server rebooted and came back online.
It's likely there's another job on that particular instance, and it just finished. So okay, we got here. What resonates with the buyer profile? Emphasis on cutting edge technology, focus on efficiency and time saving, hands on learning and practical application, testimonials from relevant professionals, strategic and tactical knowledge. So those things did well in our pitch. Improve for better residents, more specific business outcomes, highlight data driven insights, case studies of successful implementations, address industry challenges directly, professional and expert tone, customization options, emphasize competitive advantage. The last one's kind of interesting. Let's dig into that one. Show me an example of some copy that would emphasize competitive advantage in this sales pitch. Because that's not something that we spent a whole lot of time on, but it is one of those things for people who are very, very concerned about competitors. You could see that being something that would make them go, "Oh, yeah, I could see some value in this." So here's how you could emphasize competitive advantage in the sales pitch. In the rapidly evolving, I feel like this is a movie trailer. In the rapidly evolving world of marketing, staying ahead just isn't an option.
Of course, 10,000 years in the making.
Oh goodness! All right. What sets you apart with our course? Early adopter advantage, customized AI solutions for your unique brand. Actually, that's data-driven decisions outsmart the competition. Join us. That's not bad. That is not bad at all.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I had when it said competitive advantage, my first thought was talk about things that separate our course from other courses. But what they really meant was talk about how taking the course will give you a competitive advantage.
Right, which resonates well with basically good sales training, right? Like what's in it for the buyer? They don't care about our course. They care about themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's how are you going to get bigger, stronger, faster with this course?
Now, see, this is real interesting. So now I like this. I like this that pitch a lot. I think there's a very clear use case for that pitch. So what I would do is let's take this now from earlier,
Right. Throw it back in the ad generator.
throw it back in the ad generator, and let's see what the ad generator comes up with for that competitive pitch. So you would just to give you a sense of architecture, you'll have the custom GPT that has all the insights that you want to provide about your customer, your ideal customer, and your marketing pitches and the style of marketing and sales you want to do. And then you would then take that into other more tactical implementations, like write an email about this, write a whatever about this. And so you would continue to be able to make very refined copy. So let's take a look at how that's doing here. AI marketing revolution, AI driven marketing edge, innovate with AI, transform your marketing with AI, custom AI solutions. Yeah, that's pretty decent, and of course it's going to spit out the CSV file. So kind of what you were asking about earlier, John, when we started the show, can I just get those 30 ad combinations? Yeah, you can, but now we're saying not only can you get those 30 ad combinations, you can get it through different personas and through different value points. So you could probably make, before the end of the day, you could probably make a couple of hundred ad variations here. And as long as you have the budget to support it, training in on these things, you could generate an awful lot of ad copy and different pitches on different topics.
Yeah. And it's just great how it's kind of like, it's not just swapping out a bunch of synonyms. It's a fully different approach of like, okay, we're going to pitch this value over here, and we're going to pitch it in that voice, and we're going to pitch a different value and in a different voice. You can just get a whole lot more done than trying to grind that out by hand.
Let's see what it says for address industry challenges directly. Now, I'm actually legitimately curious to see what it thinks we should extend out in our marketing of the course. So one of the things I don't like about this particular version is talking too much about us and not enough about the customer.
Mhm. It is a little ironic saying that AI is the solution to content saturation. Generating more stuff. The solution is the stuff we're going to generate.
Mm-hmm. So those are the direct challenge. This is a long pitch. So there's
Well,
the
yeah, and
register now.
it's starting to hallucinate a bit too. There, it's kind of like, hey, you can also talk to everybody in the community about your problems. That's like, no,
Exactly.
we're not going that far.
All right, so it's too self-centered. Rewrite this pitch to focus more on the customer. One of the things that you'll want to do is you'll want to have in your prompts a set of rules. Like, what are the things that we don't want to do in our pitches? And so, if you want to be truly, customer centric, audience centric, you have to specify that in the rules. Otherwise, these tools will not know that's what you mean, because they're always going to do a mathematical average of what they know about a given topic, even with the data you provide. And if all of their sales examples are, hey, we're awesome, look at our cool thing, and we're a great company, that's what it's going to spit up. All right. In your journey as a marketer, you face a rapidly evolving landscape. You'll transform these challenges into greatest opportunities. Feel like so. This is much better. We're saying the word "you" an awful lot, and much less of "we," "us," and "I." Yep. Practical hands-on skills, immediate action plans, ongoing support and resources. Yeah. So that's better. Okay. So your workflow is do your 5 Ps, do your user story to narrow down what the purpose is, then start gathering up your data. So we gathered up LinkedIn profiles. To do the custom GPT, we gathered up a bunch of examples of really good sales pitches. We then did the basic example of building some ads and setting up a Google Ads template here. And then we went ahead and used an existing custom GPT. And if you want to see other custom GPTs and the process for building one soup to nuts, you can find that over on our YouTube channel because that's from previous episodes. Go to trustinsights.ai/YouTube and you can find those. And then we're now creating this sort of round robin process of use the custom GPT to evaluate based on all its knowledge, and then use the tactical chat for specific channels, email, social ads, Google ads, and so on and so forth. What did we forget, John, that would make your life continue to be easier as a person trying to sell good stuff?
Yeah, going through the similar thing, having it do a 2-week email campaign, dropping 4 emails, and then the other thing is I would have sample emails for different markets, different verticals, and say, hey, just rewrite these, but for this course. Like that would be an easy way to get those ugly first drafts done.
Oh yeah, I mean they may not be all that ugly. Actually, these are the drafts that it came up with here are pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely, and the other thing is, you can start getting into A/B testing too. Like do that and then give me 4 variants of it, and then that'd be great. You can go through all the variants and pick what you like, or just straight up test them right from there if they're good enough. But yeah, that's another way to jump ahead of things and get more done in the same amount of time.
Exactly, and even with it being slow, we ended up with about 30 different ads for Google ads and 3 different email pitches. So there's that was a very productive half hour. That certainly would take us a whole lot longer to do it by hand.
Yeah, to get that's a day's work right there. You would want to crank that out in one day and then the next day go back and proof your copywriting to make sure it all works. So now you're just jumping right to day 2 from the start.
Exactly. So that's going to do it for today's show on generative AI in sales. And these are just a couple of examples. Now, there's a lot more because obviously the job of sales is gigantic. It is many, many different tasks. But these are two tasks which, like John was saying, that are pretty big time sucks. You'll spend a full day coming up with this kind of a pitch. With the custom GPT, if you've got those customer profiles, you can have it even just do the pitch from scratch. So we had an existing pitch, but you can have it do the pitch from scratch and say, hey, I need to sell this thing. Here's what's for sale. Give me some ideas, and just have a chat with it, hence the name Chat GPT, to come up with a customer-centric, benefits-focused pitch that would hopefully, if you give it the right profiles, will resonate with those people and help you understand, okay, this is what will actually work for this group of people. And the more valid, relevant information you can provide, the better these tools will perform. So if you are curious about using this at across your marketing, across your the scale of what it is you're doing, we have a new course out that goes live in 6 days, December 13th. Go to trustinsights.ai/AI course. This is generative AI for marketers. It is $4.99 if you use the discount code earlybird300, all one word. After December 13th, it goes to $7.99. So if you are interested in seeing a lot more of this stuff, plus explaining the race framework and a lot more detailed things, that is the place to go. So any final parting words, John?
No, jump on the course. This is it. This is the way to save yourself some time and get a lot more done.
All right. We will see you all next time. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.